Hello, this is Judo Mood, the Azel backwards himself, Mr. Wizard Towers. Alright, so, you might be wondering what this is. I got it at Walmart for about 23 bucks, 24 if you want to consider tax. And it's a 2-compartment deal. You can got one of these on each side, then like that. So, the other side. So, you can technically just do like this and have that. Or, you could have, or bring both. So, I keep them in bags so, when I'm traveling, they don't get scared about. It's a binder. And it has Magic the Gathering. Alright, so I got a couple binders. So this is basically trade binders for stuff that is organized by colors and so on and so forth. Not really the main point for this deal, but basically, I can carry a couple of these trade binders and 3 of them actually. Still got room for essentially the little square deal on the side, makes it hard to see. Got a box, an air box, this. And shove in there. So I got plenty of stuff, room for various things. And it's so this is while it is big, it's really not that bad, and plus I have essentially everything I need when I go to a game shop or a tournament or stuff of that nature. I have trades, I got stuff to carry stuff that I pick up by chance, and then at the top, I guess I should have kept it separated. At the top, it also has these right here, and these pop out, then pull them back in to bring this back down. I add rope so because there's wheels, so you can just row it to wherever you want, and then you have a additional handle, so you can just carry it wherever you need it. The only downside is that there's no top for this, so if you have it separated and have this somewhere else, someone can just walk up and yank stuff out, and that would be pretty sad. So at the top are a playmat, box of dice, and currently 10 commander decks. And similar to previous box, each one of these has a commander box. So, I'm going to do a section where I'm just going to do deck profiles. Series of videos where we do commander deck profiles, and I actually got this one deck somewhat recently, and I pretty much enjoyed it. I've won with it a few times, and it's just a pretty fun deck. It's fun to play against, and it's fun to play with. It's not one of those decks that is super crazy consistent. It's not a deck that's super competitive. It's a deck. It does do stuff when it wants to do it. So it's not like I play the deck and I will win sort of thing. It's a deck that just does stuff. And so it's not like a deck where someone brings it out and it's full of dread. It's a... Because as people already know, with Commander, someone pulls out something very nasty, something awful, like the Bruna, or Amar, or whatever, or Zangos. Everyone's automatically like, we have to kill this guy. And then it's more of a arch enemy sort of situation instead of a commander situation. So it's one person against multiple people, 2-3 people, and it's not fun for the person that's happening to, and it's not fun for the heirs because all they're doing is focusing their energy against one person. Then they, after that is dealt with, then they proceed to have a regular commander match. Alright, found it. So while this deck can do cool stuff and fun stuff, it's, like I said, it's not like I will consistently pull out the combos or I will consistently win. It's not a deck where people will have to, or who are afraid, will be automatically afraid of it, or a deck that people will be super worried about. In fact, it's actually a pretty lousy deck. So the deck in mind, and I actually got these, one of these sleeves and a token at the card shop, at the local card shop. Check that out. That's pretty cool. So I got, oh, that's gone. Where is it? Alright. Found it. So, the deck in question is a black, blue, and green Tasigur deck. The Golden Fang. So, his ability is Delve. For each card you exile from your graveyard, while casting this spell pays for 1 colorless. So, he has 5 colorless, so you can at most exile 5 and make him a 1-drop commander. If you can fill your grave pretty quickly, which is pretty possible. So you can get him out pretty quickly, or at least you can make him cheaper. Something like Wayfinder, exile, and then exile 3. Then he's a 3-drop creature, commander, and his stats are 4/5, and his air ability is 2 colorless and a combination of blue, black, blue, green. So put the top 2 cards of your deck into the graveyard, then return a non-land card of your opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. So it could be any card from your grave, as long as it's a non-land card, at your opponent's discretion. So you can, this is a kind of commander where you can, which is pretty fun because it has the idea of politics and commander in mind when they made this guy. So basically you're like, hey, let's be friends, and you pick me out a cool card, and we can get rid of this air guy who's doing bad things. So the main deck here has a combination of various cards. It's mostly a Simic deck with some black splash in. So it's basically a deck that wants to do one combo, and then we just kind of stall out until we get this combo. And then when we have the combo, we win. And no, there is no Laboratory Maniac. I kind of wish there was, so have kind of like a second way of doing things. Basically, draw entire deck, and then basically while having Laboratory Maniac out, and boom. So the main idea of the deck is bouncing, countering, and destroying people's cards as we fill the grave, and then we take the option of best suited options to stay in the game until we pull out cards like Ghostly Flicker, Deadeye Navigator, Pendrin Drake, Displace Cloud of Fairies. It's not in the deck, but will be in the deck soon. Mesmeric Wall, Archical Mancer, and then our two win cons is let me look for Venomous Wealth, which adds a little more to the to actually get to do well. And then our just basic I win right here moment, Extreme Weight. So basically, using Cloud of Fairies or Pendrin Drake with Ghostly Flicker, Displace, or Deadeye Navigator for infinite mana, then you want to tour out Extreme Weight or Venus Wealth to basically either mill everyone out of their deck, or basically they just all lose all of their life. You're like, you lose infinite, each opponent loses infinite amount of life, and I gain infinite amount of life. Right there. Sword, same. And cards like this and Mesmeric Wall will return cards, instants and sorceries from the grave back to your hand, so you can just which allows you to constantly recast Venomous Wealth while you have infinite mana. So this only targets one opponent, while Extreme Weight just kills everyone at once. So you have to bring out your Deadeye Navigator. Billy is soulbound, and then each Deadeye Navigator and creature that soulbound basically has a pay 1 colorless, 1 blue to blink it onto the battlefield, which will then trigger enter the battlefield effects, such as when this enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from grave to your hand. which is super helpful. So there's not a bunch of counter cards, but there are about, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 or 5 counter cards. Not a lot. Definitely could have been more, but when you have things like Evacuate to return everything to the hand, Mana War, and Capsize, actually about 6 or 7, and then Rover Horror, you can just basically keep bouncing stuff that you don't like on the field back to the hand. There's about 5 to 6 tier cards. There's Dark Petition, Diabolical Tier, Mystical Teachings, Increasing Ambition, Diabolical Resolution, and I think that's about it. For the we also do have a mystical snake. You can flash in counter cards and Dark Petition, and their tier card. Notion Thief to prevent draw power decks. A lot of draw cards. A good chunk of the deck is basically draw power, gain stuff out of the grave, draw power. This could have been one of the a commander for the day, but I like using Tasigur since you can get them out cheap, and then you can also, you're still constantly throwing stuff in the grave, and this is just a in the deck nice bonus when you put them on the field, because then you're like, well, you know how you bounced my destroyed my artifacts or my lands previously? Well, now they're back. And then you can also you can sacrifice or bring back drakes or whatever. If they get countered, then you have a way to recover combos, or ways to constantly bring back stuff. Then there's a lot of the cards is just basically Nature's Claim, Mirror, Petrify, to constantly mess with opponent's field, rapid hyperization, bounce cards, to keep people from going too crazy with their stuff. And then a lot of the draw power is Mold Drifter, Sign in Blood, Notion Thief, Painful Truth, Night Whispers, Impulse. Impulse is really a it's more scry and draw. Treasure Proof. Let's see what else. Command Spear is a draw card. Not a great one, but when you can put it on the field, then tap it for mana, and then sacrifice it, and then use Muldrolf with the Grave Tide to keep bringing it back. You're just spending mana to keep putting it back onto the battlefield and drawing until you find an answer. Compulsive research, comparative analysis, harmonize, Cloying Oracle, and if it's a land, it gets put onto the battlefield. Fact and Fiction, so a lot of draw power, and then there's a somewhat of a recursion engine, I guess you can call it, such as Seasons Past, Treasure Find, Muldrolf, the Grave Tide, Grapple with the Past, Wayfinder, kind of, not really. Urban Evolution is in their draw card. And so you want to try to get this combo out pretty quickly, but you also want to kind of pace yourself too, because basically if someone's mana's open, untapped, right as you're about to go infinite, then you're just open yourself to basically being shut down, and basically since this is the only thing the deck really does well is that you basically then shut your chances from winning the game. So you want to make sure you're being careful with what your when you want to pull your combo out. Basically, the main point is to mana ramp quickly, because the mana required is quite a bit to because you need your Drake out, then away, and when your Drake enters the battlefield, it's now on tap 5 lands, so you'll have about 5-6 mana open. Usually 5, unless you have one of the few dual lands. Then you need something like Ghostly Flicker, and then our Displace, while having Ghostly Flicker or Displace, and the air one in the graveyard, while having something like Archromancer or Mesmeric Wall being displaced or flickered with Drake, so you're basically fetching the untapping 5, paying 3, so you're +2 every time you do the combo, fetching a card from the grave each time, and basically show the combo a couple times, and you're like, now I have infinite blue, black, green, and or colorless, And then once you have that, you want to have a way to grab a tier card via drawing or via already having the tier card. There's a few of the tier cards have flashback, which is basically if they're already in the grave, which can be done easily. You're like, I use part of my infinite mana to exile this from the grave to do the flashback. Then you go grab the obvious choice is extenuate, because once you have the mana and then the win con, you win. But if, like, say, for whatever chances you can't get that one, you have the second win con card, which is Venomous Wealth. But once you cast Venomous Wealth, you only one-shot one person with this, as previously mentioned. So then you have to do the a combo where, alright, so I blink this guy in. You can then have something like a Deadeye Navigator combo with the Drake, or Aerial Mancer, and then Drake will just blink in whatever you need, and then you're like, I will fetch this from the grave to do your combo. And then you're just like, bam, bam, bam. And basically, if you do choose to use the Venomous Wealth, always target the blue player first. If there's another blue player or black player, target, or white player, I guess, target them first, especially the blue, and because basically if someone's about to do something like it's like, I'm gonna let him die, but if he's gonna target me next, I want to stop that. So basically, now you have infinite mana, and now you have access to all of their cards in their deck via them as well. So you're like, since I know he has counter cards, or cards I can instants and sorceries, mostly instants, to stop anyone from doing anything. If you don't have a way to stop it yourself, you can be like, well, I use his card to stop whatever you're doing, so I can then go through with what I'm doing and end the game. So the reason why I say blue first, because obviously the counter spells have an access to every card in their deck, and they should have at least a few. Hopefully they have a few. And then white, basically board wipes, and which you probably don't want to do, because that would kind of mess up your plan, but not necessarily too bad, since we got recursion and ways to keep pulling the trick up combos out. But basically removing stuff off their field. Black is also really good at removing stuff off the field, and so on and so forth. Another good commander for this deck is Sidisi, Brood Tyrant, because when it enters the battlefield or attack, you mill 3 of yourself. So you send the top 3 cards of your deck into the graveyard, which is what you want, because you're a graveyard abusing kind of deck and strategy. And then whenever one or more creatures is put in the graveyard from the library, you make a zombie token. And honestly, that's not going to happen a lot, because there's only so many creatures in this deck, and this is a more instant and sorcery heavy deck, so the odds of that happening is really not much. But you just want to be able to blink him in and basically mill most of your deck out, and then you're like, alright, so now you have access to your to ways of searching out your win cards, or grabbing them from the grave, and you're just then go full commando and win the game with your 2 win con. Or if you have a way to put Laboratory Maniac in, mill your entire deck, have Laboratory Maniac, and then draw 1 card, which is super easy, and then that's in their win combo for the deck. So you have 3-4 ways of winning, and of course you're not winning through combat. So I will post the entire deck list, and I bought this deck for about 20-30 bucks. It was actually a really cheap deck. I made some modifications. I took some stuff out and put some other stuff in. I had extra cards in the binders, as you already saw, and I just saw some certain cards that I just thought would really do well. I did some play testing at a local card shop of my choice. I went to a friend of mine, his name is Ryan, and he advised me to put in some more cheer cards, so naturally I put 5-6 of them. So, and I mean, I'm more or less new. I need more tours for the deck because I need to consistently be able to have my win, the 2 free cards to pull out the combo for the win. Kurt told me, another guy named Kurt told me to take out a few cards so I can have extra copies of basically the same combo but with different cards. So with that, really help out, and I have just basically a lot of stuff to mess with people's fields, or basically keep myself in the game long enough so I can hopefully get the combo out. Now, like I said, I did win 3 or 4 times, but it's not one of those things where it's gonna happen all the time. It's just, hey, look, I got the combo, I go infinite mana, and I will now search out my WinCon and activate WinCon to win. So, but if there was actually one match where they exiled my entire WinCon, the 6 cards I needed, so essentially I was out of the game while being in the game. Basically, the only way the deck was going to win was through the combo, and because of that, they just basically nullified me. So, you have, if they're aware of the deck and aware of the combo, then they know certain cards to watch out for. Especially with Deadeye Navigator and Pendrin Drake. They, you want to make sure those go onto the battlefield, and they don't get messed with. You want to put something to give them hexproof, if it can be met, because once they're hexproof or shrouded, will prevent people messing with it. Hopefully they won't get countered, because basically you need the combo. The reason why I put Cloud and Fairy in, or will put in, is it's basically in their Drake, but it's a 2-drop. When it enters the battlefield, untap 2 lands, and if you have 1 or 2 lands that produce 2 manas, which is very possible in the deck, you're just constantly profiting 1 mana, 1 or 2 mana every time you're untapping, which means you go infinite, but at a slightly slower rate. But basically, if no one sees what you're doing when you soul bond Deadeye with Cloud Fairy. If no one, because basically people are like, well, it's a Cloud Fairies, okay, whatever, no big deal. And then you're like, then you have your big ass smirk, and you're like, all right, I sold on, I pay the mana, since it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield free. Now using the mana that I would to put to cast it, more or less cast it, to enter the battlefield, and then it enters the battlefield infinite amount of times. And then if you're lucky, as it's entering the battlefield an infinite amount of times, you're getting at least 1 or 2 mana off of it. So you essentially have your infinite mana. And basically, because as soon as people see your Drake, people want to smash it, which I can't blame them for. It still hurts when you're on the end where your Drake gets smashed, or your Deadeye Navigator gets smashed. So it's a more of a sneaky way of trying to get the combo out for your infinite mana. So with that said, this will be the end of the video. Thank you for watching.